This segment of Afternoon Live is brought to you by Family Matters.
Health and education, safety, and the quality of life. KATU and our partners are proud to bring you Family Matters, offering solutions to the hard questions.
Because KATU and Providence Health and Services know that family matters.
Thanks for watching Afternoon Live. Going back to school can make children anxious under normal circumstances, but starting the new school year after a year of distance learning and as the pandemic continues can be overwhelming for a lot of kids. So here to share more about kids' fears and how we can prepare them for school, we welcome to the show Providence psychologist Dr. Annalise Manns is with us today. Great to have you on the show and be talking about this, Annalise.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
First of all, Sharon, what have you noticed, Dr. Manns, about kids and anxiety and this school year in particular?
Absolutely. I think that as you named, every school year, there's definitely some anxiety about returning to school. This year, even more so. Some of the things I'm seeing children tell me they're anxious about are things like social pressures and concerns. They haven't been around their friends for a long time, and peer groups have changed. Some people have started at new schools during COVID, so there's lots of social anxiety. There's some academic anxieties as well. Some students got behind during virtual learning, and so there's worries, will I catch up? What will it be like to be in school again in person? And then there's also concerns with COVID as it continues on. What will it be like to wear a mask at school every day? And will I feel safe? Questions and concerns like that.
I know, as you said, kids always have maybe a little bit of anxiety, or certain ones in particular. Is there a way for a parent to recognize when they need to have certain conversations with their child?
Absolutely. I think the most helpful thing is just to have frequent connection with your child, and so they feel comfortable checking in with you when something is wrong. So having just a regular time to check in frequently can help them to tell you when they're feeling off or something's off. Signs to watch for, though, would be any changes to their behaviors, their sleeping habits, their eating habits, withdrawing from the family, things like that, or also changes to their emotions. They're maybe more tearful than normal. They're expressing just a lot of worries, or they become just a lot more irritable. Those are some things we can watch for, that they might be having a little bit of a hard time.
Is there a certain age group that you're hearing from the most in this change?
Yeah, so I think I'm definitely hearing concerns like this across the board. I'm noticing that there's an additional layer of worry for any student who's in a transitional year. A transitional year being going from elementary school to middle school to high school, or being a senior in high school. Those are years that just come with a lot of pressures and some stress anyway. And so all the unknowns of COVID, I've noticed those students are having kind of an especially nervous time.
What about parents? Are parents coming to you as well?
Yeah, so I try to include parents when it's appropriate in working with their kids, and they are voicing a lot of these same types of concerns, or they're coming to me just separate from their children, voicing some of these concerns. Another layer for them is just the logistics. We've gotten so used to the work from home routine. What will it be like to do that, get the kid out the door to school routine again?
Yeah, and be busy again. It's a whole different dynamic and with the stress that the pandemic is still there, right? And we're still trying to get back to a new normal, per se. So what is some advice that you have for parents out there as far as starting this off? Because it's happening so soon.
Absolutely. So a lot of what I talk about with my patients is sort of this three-step process of starting by noticing, of course, as a parent, your own feelings about this, and then your child's feelings about this. So when we talk about noticing, we really want to pay attention to what we feel in our bodies, what we feel emotionally, what our mind may be telling us. Once we've noticed, we want to name those things. So as a parent, we may want to name, man, I feel concerned for my child. How can I hold that concern in a way that's going to be supportive for them? Or we might notice, honey, it seems like you've been kind of a little bit more on edge lately. Is something bothering you? So noticing and naming what the concern is for kids can be really supportive. And then the last piece is navigating. Because there's just been such a place of constant change and transition in these COVID times, helping children to learn how to be flexible and adaptable is so helpful and important, so that we're using energy to cope versus energy to fight against or resist the way things are. So when we think about navigating, I really encourage parents and kids to collaborate. For example, if we've noticed our child is really concerned about the academic strain of returning to school, we've been able to name that with them. We might say something like, I know we've talked about how you're really nervous about going back to school because it was hard for you to stay caught up last year. I wonder if we might reach out together to ask your teacher for this year if she has any thoughts around how we can help you catch up. And in that way, we're kind of coming up with a cope ahead plan that can provide a framework to hold their distress so they feel like there's a plan. And then the last piece is that children really do look to adults to get a sense of how they should respond in times like this. So it's so important for us to do these steps with ourselves too, to notice our own experience and make sure that we're in a place where we can model these sorts of things for children.
Dr. Manns, wonderful tips today. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll have more information about how to help your kids returning to school on our website at KATU.com. And there's also the information for the mental wellness resources, 503-215-9369. But don't go away. More of Afternoon Live when we come back.